That's obviously a great first question. The easiest way to answer that is kind of the jobs. Husband first. My wife, Suzanne, is a teacher within the district. Currently, she's the psychological examiner for the district. Also, father. I've got 3 children that have been at various stages within the district. My oldest daughter graduated in 2010, graduated from Truman in 15, and I've got a senior boy, Thomas, and then I've got an 8th grader who will be heading over to the high school, Noah, for next year. So I will have had 8 years of straight high school experience and probably 12 out of about 16 years in a row of having a kid over in the senior high school. Currently my job is I work for the University of Missouri. I'm a pre-employment transition services specialist, really long title. Basically what it means is I help high school students who may have an IEP, a 504 education plan, or medical reasons thereof, so that they need additional transitional help and support. So I travel to 19 districts, kind of in central Missouri, and so I see a variety of students, a variety of folks, and help them with their transition needs. My wife and I came to Kirksville in 1991, so we're approaching the post 25-year and longer process. Our kids, 2 of our kids were born here. Our oldest daughter was born in our hometown area, but for the most part we've been in Kirksville since August of 91. We've gone to school at Truman, so we have that heavy connection as well, and we've been very big and supportive of the community for a number of years. That's a easy but yet complex question as well. Bottom line, I want to be able to run for the school board so I can help. Specifically so I can help the students of our district, all students, all ages, from the pre-kindergarten age all the way to the post-secondary age and everything in between. So ultimately that's the first and easiest reason why I want to help make sure we're making student-centered decisions, and that each and every student, whether it's our strongest or our weakest student, the best family or the families that struggle, I want to be able to help each and every one of those. As a school board member, you've got a different role because you help with the vision of the district, you help with the culture of the district, you don't mess with the minor, small details of the district. You want to put forth the direction, but you want to be able to have the ability to step back. I've previously served on the school board before, so I've done this role. I have experience with it. I've got a lot of experience from the everything from young to the old. I've got middle school experience, high school experience, collegiate experience. I've got teaching experience, coaching experience in regular education classrooms, in special education classrooms, kind of a variety. And what I hope is that because of that diverse background and experience, I can come into a board with a group of others in addition to the school administration and make sure that whatever we're talking about, whatever decisions, whether it's specifically to a classroom, whether it's helping improve professional development, whether it's with our extracurricular activities, that at the end of the day that we are fighting for the kids and making student-centered decisions. If we do that, then my role and job as a school board member will be fine, and everything else will be easy to deal with. There's a couple small things. The great thing about our district is we are a very good district. We're financially stable. We have great staff. We have great students. We have great community. We have great facilities. We have a lot of positive things here. Because I get to go on the road and see districts of various sizes, various shapes, various financial situations, I understand and realize probably better than most just where we stack up against others. Now, with that said, do we have challenges? Absolutely. The biggest challenge is going to be the uncertain budget coming forth. Right now, we're getting basically hold messages in terms of don't expect anything more coming. If anything, expect less. So the great thing about that is we can turn that into a positive. Obviously, we want more money. Obviously, we want to be able to spend it on our students, our staff, and all the other resources we have. However, the reality is we're going to be put into a situation similar to what we had several years ago. Now, I was on the board just as we were coming out of that, so I got to see the good work that school boards did in terms of providing a very stable, very structured stance. We came through that relatively unscathed. We leaned heavy on staff attrition and retirement, and that was an easy way to cut some sources, but we also tightened the belt across the line, building-wise, resource-wise, everything. And so I got to come in just as we were stable and as we were mounting, kind of not getting into riches, but basically we were very full in terms of the budget, and we were actually needing to look to spend on some long-term projects. And I think even to today, some of the early conversations I was in on were roof repair, you know, something that has to be done, something that's not cheap, but something that you've got to plan for when times are good, so that when times of not so good come up, that you can be a lot more solid. So, but with the tight budgets, to me, I see that as a great opportunity. What we need to do is lean on the strong individuals in our district, from an administrator, teacher, staff, and community-wide. And this is a great opportunity to think differently. What can we do well with the resources that we have? You know, some of the things we're going to have to cut, we will feel it. However, I think what we'll be able to do is have a great opportunity to maybe challenge some things, challenge the status quo of how we've done things. An easy example is textbooks. Every teacher, and I'm a former teacher within our district, everyone would love to have the neatest, latest, most up-to-date hands-on textbooks. Well, the reality is 21st century learners, we don't use textbooks that often. So arguing for more textbooks, that is an easy, not that we shouldn't ever get more books. I mean, obviously there's a place, but what we can do is we can look at more and more of our Google Classrooms. We can look more and more at our technology. How can we still deliver the same type of information, lesson, and learning, but at a cost-reduced standpoint? So the budget challenge is going to force us to think differently, and the big buzzword right now is innovation. How can you innovate? Use this as a positive spin, and then kind of go forward. Quickly, another challenge I think kind of ties to this, but it also ties to where we're headed, is there's been a lot of talk about alternative schools, how and why we're going to maybe do some different things, whether it's a school, whether it's staff, whether it's different. Hopefully one of the things that I'm bringing to that discussion is the fact that I'm dealing with transition students right now. Several of the students that I deal with come from very tough circumstances and are actually in very alternative structures. Because I get to see all these different schools, I see what works and what does not work. And I'm you know, happy to share some of those experiences. What I've seen is schools on a very small, cost-reduced basis can actually provide a lot of different alternative pathways to positive success that don't cost a lot of money. However, what they do cost is thinking differently. It's a different ideology. It's a different philosophy on how we work with students as we are progressing them through. So, you know, to me, those two difficult standpoints can be similar, but it's going to force us to think differently. And ultimately, I hope I can come in and lend a positive voice to make some positive change within a tough budget that's coming. Quick answer and long answer on that one. Do I support their decision on that? Absolutely. From a personal standpoint, no doubt. However, that's not how you answer that question, I don't think, as a community, as a school board member. Right now, most recently, the Supreme Court basically sent that discussion back to the states. So what that tells, I think, everyone now is it's going to be a state/local control question. So this is something that will come up. The last 2 years, I actually have worked with two transgendered students, and so I've been able to see firsthand. Obviously, I haven't dealt with anything from the bathroom standpoint of that discussion. However, in the classroom, working with, communicating with, seeing the interaction of, I've had firsthand experience. Because of the size of our school district, this is an issue that is going to be in the forefront and something that we need to address. To me, what you need to do is basically all stakeholders need to come together, because in a local control situation, you need to have the pulse of your staff, of your students, of your board, and your community, and you need to talk about this issue. To me, I think a weak community or weak board would simply just pass a single sentence, say we have it in a policy, and they would walk away from it. That is wrong in my estimation. What you need to do is you need to educate. Even though I personally believe that that individual needs the opportunity to use that restroom, you also got to look at it on the other side. That may be uncomfortable for other people, and to me, what better opportunity than the education? That doesn't mean you have to agree with the policy or the stance. You don't have to agree with me personally or my stance or against it, but you need to have the education and the discussion, and that needs to be a community building and school-wide. Now, with that, you can anticipate there's going to be different responses in the community. Not one answer is right. So I do think you need to have a menu of possible answers, and that is for the transgendered student as well as for others. Being a former athlete, I have been in and out of locker rooms all of my life as an athlete and as a coach, and as you interact with different people of different backgrounds, might you be uncomfortable? Absolutely. And so for anyone to force or to tell one individual that you absolutely have to do this or that, I think that is incorrect. So I would support the personal individual right, but I would also support greater education, that we need to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. And that education goes, not only just bathrooms, because for someone who is identifying as transgender, for someone who is communicating that is someone who has some questions, that they're questioning, obviously some personal internal things, but as adults, as teachers, we can help, and we need to educate all of the students in a class, in a grade, in a community, so that no one feels uncomfortable. Because to me, if there's going to be issues, it's because people are not educated, people do not understand what options are available, people do not understand the inner workings of all the decisions. And if you're transparent, if you're upfront, and it turns into a situation where it's not a big deal, then it's not going to be a big deal. And so I hope that if pressed, and the issue is directly in front of me, that those are some of the issues that I'm going to definitely support and push to help, but to also educate everyone and to make sure that we're making a good decision for all parties involved. Actually, I showed my wife the questions, and that was the first one that kind of popped to her head. Who are you going to answer? I've been fortunate that through my entire upbringing, I've been around great teachers and great coaches. I was heavy. I was the kid in school. If you had asked me in 5th, 6th grade, what are you going to do? I was the kid that was going to play, for the Cardinals, or was going to go to the NFL or play in the NBA. I mean, that was me growing up. So athletics was very, very, very important, and that influenced me getting into education. That influenced me getting into coaching. So, initially it would have to be some of the high school coaches, the college coaches that I had growing up, because the thing that's unique with coaches versus, and not that teachers can't be tough, believe me, they can be, but sometimes when you work with a student outside of the classroom on an athletic setting, when wins and losses, when struggles, when good times and bad times come in, and you have very positive, demanding individuals that you work with, and for me, really over the course of probably 10 to 12 solid years of good people, good coaches. That was definitely a strong influence into me, whether it was my high school coaches, both with football, basketball, and baseball, that I had strong relationships with and still have had some ties with, in addition to college coaches, which kind of molded me into the collegian that I was and kind of that adult career as I was heading out to. So not that I didn't have great teachers. An English teacher kind of led me down towards my English direction and path. So, I've had several that have been very good. Good because they were positive and good because they were encouraging. And, I, in turn, like to hope that, of the thousands of kids that I've worked with in almost, 22 years of school, that there's, a kid or two out there that's had a very positive experience with me as well. I guess this is the elevator pitch, right? So, the big thing that I want to stress to the voters is I think I'm going to be a very strong candidate because I bring the experiences that not everyone has. I have formerly been on a school board, and so I've been in those rooms and made those tough decisions. The other thing that makes me unique versus all of the other candidates, I'm a former teacher from the district. I've been on the committee meetings. I've sat in staff rooms. I've been in the classrooms. I know exactly what people are thinking, the pulse of the kids, the pulse of the education, the pulse of the staff, in terms of how they fit. And for me, I would think if, because there's obviously a lot of teachers out there, one of the big things is going to be salary. Okay, wow, in tough budget times, what are we going to do? And the one thing, and I didn't talk about this a lot when I was on the school board, but when you're running, you've got to make sure this is communicated. I was a very strong voice to the fact that teachers were able to get their years. They were able to get basically not frozen steps on the salary schedule. I can remember many detailed discussions where, from the teacher standpoint on the board, I'm in there explaining to everyone, administrators and the other school board members, you cannot freeze a teacher and expect morale to be up. And one of the easiest ways to upset a worker, and in this case teachers, is if when things are tight, that you freeze their experience steps or their salary steps, because that hurts them. Even though it's a short-term fix and it's a short-term win financially, that hurts that teacher for the rest of their educational career. So you not only hurt them once, every year you're hurting them again. So I would hope that as a strong voice for teachers, a strong voice for students, based on my experiences, that I'm going to be a strong candidate for this year's board.